I had the divorce papers in my briefcase when I heard my wife say, "I can't keep lying to him. She's dying, and he still doesn't know." The papers were expensive, 32-pound weight, the kind that doesn't tear easily. My signature sat at the bottom in blue ink, deliberate, final. Hers was blank. A question mark made of negative space. I'd been carrying them for 3 days, waiting for the right moment, waiting for courage maybe, or permission. That morning started like every morning for the past 12 years. Sarah made coffee. 2 sugars, no cream, the way I like it. The mug had her lip print on the rim, coral lipstick, the shade she's worn since our second date. She set it on my desk next to the wedding photo. Us at 24. Young and stupid and convinced love was enough. "You're up early," she said. "Couldn't sleep." Me neither. She smiled, tired, beautiful, guilty. I looked at our wedding photo, then at the briefcase. The papers inside felt like they weighed 30 pounds instead of 3 ounces. I'd practiced this. The lawyer said, "Don't be emotional, just serve the papers." But my hands shook anyway, not from fear. From rage I'd been swallowing for 6 months. I was going to do it that night. Pour a glass of wine, sit her down, hand her the envelope, clean, quick, merciful. Then I heard her voice through the bedroom door and froze. I know. Her voice was low, strained. "But I can't keep lying to him. She's dying, and he still doesn't know." Silence. She was on the phone. "No, he'll never forgive me if he finds out I went behind his back. You don't understand. He made me promise 6 years ago. He said if I ever... No, I have to tell him. Before it's too late." My hand was on the doorknob. I didn't turn it. I stood there, ear pressed to the wood, like a thief. She asked about him again yesterday. I didn't know what to say. How do you tell a dying woman her son won't come? That he doesn't even know she's... God, this is so messed up. Another pause. Longer. A Thursday, same as always. St. Catherine's, room 4-7. I'll bring the coffee she likes. I wish he could see what I see. Maybe then he'd understand why Her voice cracked. Actually cracked. Sarah doesn't cry. Not when her father died. Not when we lost the baby. She just goes quiet and small and disappears inside herself. But now she was crying. "I have to go," she whispered. "He's awake." I backed away from the door. Quiet. Quick. My brain was white noise and alarm bells. She's dying. Not he. She. The coffee mug was still warm in my hand. The lipstick print stared at me like an accusation. Who was dying? And why would I never forgive her? I should back up and give you context, because 6 months ago, I would have told you my marriage was solid. Not perfect, what marriage is, but good, real, the kind where you finish each other's sentences and know how the other person takes their coffee. Then March happened. March 14th. Sarah came home 3 hours late. No explanation. Just, "I'm sorry, lost track of time." March 21st. Another late night. This time she smelled like hospital antiseptic. Said she'd visited a friend. Wouldn't say who. April rolled in. The credit card statement started showing charges I didn't recognize. $380 at a medical supply store. $412 at a pharmacy. $620 at St. Catherine's Medical Center. Patient services. I asked her about it. She said it was for her mom. Her mom lives in Florida, has her own insurance. The lies got sloppier. May. I found a text she'd deleted, just a fragment in the phone backup. "I'll be there Thursday, same time. Don't worry, he doesn't suspect anything." I called Marcus, my best friend since college, the guy who stood next to me at our wedding. "Bro," he said, "you know what this sounds like, right?" "I know what it sounds like." "You want me to help you confirm it?" "No, I want you to tell me I'm crazy." "You're not crazy." June. I hired someone. Not a private investigator, I'm not that guy, but a friend of Marcus's who does discreet verification services. 24 hours later, he sent me photos. Sarah, Thursday afternoons. St. Catherine's Hospital, every single week. But here's the thing that made me sign those papers. She looked happy in the photos, walking into the hospital with 2 coffees, smiling at someone through a window I couldn't see, wearing a burgundy scarf I'd never seen before. She looked the way she used to look at me. Marcus saw the photos. He put his hand on my shoulder, said, "I'm sorry, man." I said, "Me too." That's when I called the lawyer. But that phone call, that word, dying, it didn't fit. Affairs don't have hospitals, they have hotels, apartments, cars, and parking lots. If you've ever questioned everything you thought you knew about someone, if you felt that moment when the floor just disappears beneath you, you know what I'm talking about. That's where I was, standing in my kitchen with divorce papers in one hand and her coffee in the other, realizing I didn't know anything at all. The credit card charges, they weren't at hotels. I pulled up the statements again, looked closer. March 14th, $387, St. Catherine's Medical Center. Not the cafe, not the gift shop. Patient services. March 21st, $412, same location. April through June, $3,200, same place. Every Thursday, like clockwork. Not a hotel, not a man's apartment, a hospital. I followed her that Thursday. I'm not proud of it, but I needed to know. Needed to see with my own eyes what 6 months of lies looked like. She left at 1:30 p.m., wore jeans and that burgundy scarf, carried 2 coffees in a cardboard tray. I stayed 3 cars back. Felt like a detective in a bad movie. Felt like a stranger in my own marriage. St. Catherine's Medical Center, East Entrance. She parked in the visitor lot, Section C, 3rd row. I watched her walk across the parking lot. She moved different here, slower, careful with the coffees, like they mattered more than usual. The automatic doors swallowed her. I waited 5 minutes, then followed. The lobby smelled like industrial cleaner and anxiety. I kept my distance, watched her stop at the visitor check-in. The woman behind the desk smiled, knew her, said something I couldn't hear. Sarah laughed. This small, sad laugh, and took a visitor badge. She clipped it to her purse. The badge was burgundy, same color as the scarf. She walked toward the elevators. I followed, tried to look casual, a guy visiting someone, anyone. The elevator doors opened. She stepped in, pressed 4. I caught the next one, 4th floor. The placard on the wall said oncology and palliative care. Oncology. My stomach dropped, just fell through the floor. I stood in that hallway, watched her disappear around a corner, carrying 2 coffees, wearing that scarf like a promise. She walked into the oncology wing. Oncology. I didn't follow her further. Couldn't. My legs just stopped working. I went home, tore through her things. I'm not proud of that either, but I was desperate. Drowning. Needed something solid to hold on to. Her coat closet. That's where I found it. A hospital bracelet. Thin plastic. The kind they give patients. It was tucked in the pocket of her spring jacket, the one she wore every Thursday. I held it up to the light. Laser printed text. Black on white. Eleanor Whitmore Dobb, 06-15-1951, admitted 11/02/2024, status stage 4. The room tilted, actually tilted, like someone had grabbed the world and shaken it. Eleanor Whitmore, my mother's name. I read it again and again, like the words would change if I looked hard enough. Patient since November 2nd, the day after I signed the divorce papers at the lawyer's office. The same day Sarah came home 3 hours late with hospital antiseptic on her clothes. Stage 4. The bracelet was worn smooth where it rubbed against a wrist. Thin as a grocery receipt. But the name felt like it could cut glass. My mother. The woman I'd cut out of my life 6 years ago. The woman I told Sarah, made her promise, I never wanted to hear about again. She was dying, and my wife had known for months. I need to tell you why I cut my mother off, because otherwise this doesn't make sense. Otherwise, I'm just the villain who abandoned his dying mother. And maybe I am. But there's context. 6 years ago, December 18th. The worst day of my life until that moment in Sarah's coat closet. My father died. Heart attack. Sudden. He was 59. We were supposed to go fishing that weekend. He died reaching for his phone to call me. The funeral was small. Dad didn't have many friends. He was quiet, kept to himself. I gave the eulogy. Talked about how he taught me to tie flies for fishing, how he never missed a single one of my basketball games, even the away ones, how he loved my mother for 37 years without wavering. Then the reception, our house. People in black bringing casseroles nobody would eat. That's when my mother walked in with Richard Carlson, tall, silver hair, expensive suit. He put his hand on the small of her back, possessive, familiar, and guided her through the door of the house my father had bought, maintained, died in. I didn't recognize him at first. Thought he was a colleague, a friend. Then Mom introduced him. Thomas, this is Richard. Richard, my son. Not Richard from work, not Richard the neighbor. Just Richard, like I should know, like it was normal. Sarah was next to me. She squeezed my hand. I felt her tension. She'd seen it too. Nice to meet you, Richard said, extended his hand. I didn't take it. Who are you? My voice came out flat. Dead. Mom's face went pale. Tommy, who is he? People were staring. The room got quiet, that horrible, choking quiet where everyone pretends they're not listening. I'm a friend, Richard said, smooth, practiced. Your mother and I, how long? Thomas. Mom's voice was small, pleading. Please, not here. How long? She looked at Richard. He nodded, like he was giving her permission to speak in her own house, at her own husband's funeral. 2 years, she whispered. The floor disappeared. 2 years. While Dad was alive, while he was faithful, while he loved her without wavering for 37 years. Get out. Tommy, get out. Both of you. Now. He was distant, Mom said, started crying. Your father he didn't talk to me. He was always working, always fishing, always somewhere else. I was lonely. Richard listened. He was dying. My voice wasn't mine anymore. It came from somewhere deep and toxic. Dad was dying. His heart was failing. The doctors told him a year ago. He didn't tell you because he didn't want you to worry. Didn't want you to feel obligated to stay. Silence. Complete silence. He knew? Mom's face crumbled. He knew his heart was... He knew. And he spent his last year making sure everything was set up for you. The house, paid off. The life insurance, doubled. He even bought you that car you wanted, the blue one. He died reaching for his phone to call me and tell me he'd finally worked up the courage to ask you to go on a real vacation. Just the two of you. No work, no distractions. Mom's sobs filled the room. Richard tried to touch her shoulder. I stepped between them. If you're still here in 60 seconds, I'm calling the police. They left. Richard first, then Mom. She looked back at me from the doorway, mouth open like she wanted to say something, but what was there to say? The door closed. Sarah wrapped her arms around me. I stood there, couldn't move, couldn't breathe. 2 weeks later, a letter arrived. Mom's handwriting, thick envelope. I didn't open it, wrote return to sender on the front. Another letter came the next week and the next and the next. I rubber banded them together, threw them in a box in the garage. Finally, she called. I answered because I was stupid enough to think maybe she was calling to apologize, to explain, to make it make sense. Tommy, please, let me explain. Explain what? That you cheated on Dad while he was dying? That you brought your affair partner to his funeral? Richard it wasn't like that. I just needed someone to talk to. Your father was so closed off. I was drowning in that house. Richard was just a friend, just someone who listened. A friend who shows up to your husband's funeral, who touches you like he owns you. I made a mistake bringing him, I know that. But Tommy, I'm your mother. I raised you. Doesn't that count for something? You want to know what counts? I was shaking. Dad knew. He knew his heart was failing, and he spent his last year trying to make you happy. He died thinking about you, and you were with Richard. I didn't know. That's worse, Mom. That's so much worse. You were so checked out of your own marriage that you didn't even notice your husband was dying. Silence on the line. Long enough that I thought she'd hung up. Then, so what do you want me to do? Nothing. I want you to do nothing. I want you to leave me alone. I want you to live with what you did. And I want you to understand that, as far as I'm concerned, you died with Dad. Tommy. I hung up, changed my number, blocked her email, told Sarah, if she ever contacts you, you tell me immediately. Promise me. Sarah promised. I meant it when I said it. I told her, you're dead to me. And for 6 years, she was. And now she really was dying. And my wife had known for months. Sarah came home at 6:47 p.m. I heard her keys in the door, the rustle of her coat, the soft thud of her purse on the entry table. Thomas? Her voice was careful, testing. I was sitting at the kitchen table, the hospital bracelet in front of me, next to it 6 months of credit card statements highlighted, every charge at St. Catherine's circled in red. She walked in, saw the table, stopped. Oh? I can explain. Can you? I held up the bracelet, because I'd really like to hear how you explain this. She pulled out the chair across from me, sat down slowly, like she was approaching a wounded animal. She called me, Sarah said, quiet, steady. 6 months ago, November 1st, called my cell. I don't know how she got the number. She said she was sick, said she needed help, said she had no one else. She had Richard. Richard died 2 years ago, heart attack. She was alone when she got the diagnosis. I processed that. Richard, dead, cosmic justice, maybe, or just proof that the universe doesn't care about our neat little moralities. Why didn't you tell me? Because you made me promise. She looked at me, really looked at me. 6 years ago, you said if she ever contacted me, I had to tell you immediately. I promised. But Thomas, she was dying. Stage 4 pancreatic cancer, 3 to 6 months. She had no one, no family, no friends. She'd burned every bridge trying to apologize to you. So you broke your promise. I broke your rule. Her voice cracked. I broke your rule to save your mother's dignity, to give her a chance to die without being completely alone. Yes, I broke it, and I'd do it again. Here's the question I'm wrestling with. If someone you love breaks your boundary to save someone you've cut off, do they deserve forgiveness? Comment yes or no. No wrong answer, because I genuinely didn't know. I pushed the credit card statements toward her. $3,000, Sarah, $3,000. Hospice isn't covered by Medicare when you're an outpatient. She wanted to die at home. I helped pay for a home health aide, 2 days a week. With our money, with my money, I picked up extra shifts at the clinic, worked weekends. That's when I noticed how tired she looked, how thin. The shadows under her eyes weren't new. I'd just stopped seeing them. Why? My voice broke, actually broke. Why would you do this? Because she's your mother. She stopped being my mother 6 years ago. No, Thomas, you stopped being her son. She never stopped being your mother. The words hit like a fist. I stood up, paced, couldn't sit still. She called me every week, Sarah continued, begged me not to tell you, said you'd made your choice, said she respected that, but she asked if I could just sit with her sometimes. That's all. Just sit there so she wouldn't die completely alone. So the Thursdays, St. Catherine's, room 407. I bring her coffee, the way she likes it, read to her. Sometimes we just sit. She talks about you, about when you were little, about teaching you to ride a bike, about your first basketball trophy. She has this box. Stop. I couldn't hear it. Couldn't reconcile the woman who cheated on my dying father with the woman who wanted to hear about my first basketball trophy. Sarah reached into her purse, pulled out an envelope, thick, heavy, set it on the table. She wrote you letters, Sarah said, every week for 6 years. 312 letters. She mailed them. You sent them back. She kept writing anyway. I stared at the envelope, could see edges of paper inside, a whole stack. She asked me to give you these, after, when she's gone, but I think... Sarah's voice wavered. I think you should read them now, while she can still hear that you did. I can't. Thomas... I can't, Sarah. You don't understand. What she did. I understand what she did. She told me. All of it. Richard, the funeral, the last conversation you had. She told me everything. Then you know. I know she made a terrible mistake. I know she brought someone to your father's funeral who shouldn't have been there. I know she hurt you in a way that doesn't heal. Sarah reached across the table, took my hand. But I also know she's dying, and she's dying alone because you'd rather be right than merciful. I pulled my hand back. That's not fair, isn't it? We sat there, the envelope between us, 312 letters, 312 weeks of a woman I declared dead trying to reach her son. Then she handed me something else, a document, legal looking. What's this? Medical power of attorney. She gave it to me in case she can't make decisions anymore. She has no one else, Thomas. She listed me as next of kin. Next of kin. My wife, not me. Because I'd cut myself out so completely that my own mother had to list my wife as family. The last letter, Sarah said softly. She wrote it 3 weeks ago. Her handwriting was shaking. She could barely hold the pen. It just says, I understand if you can't forgive me, but don't punish Sarah for loving you. I waited until Sarah went to bed. Then I opened the envelope. 312 letters. Some in crisp envelopes, others in thin, recycled paper, the kind you buy when money's tight. The last few were barely envelopes at all. Just paper folded and taped. I started with the first one, dated December 20th, 2 days after the funeral. Tommy, I don't expect you to read this. I don't expect forgiveness. I just need you to know I was wrong. Richard wasn't my lover. I swear on your father's grave, we never crossed that line. But that doesn't matter, does it? I brought him to the funeral. I let him touch me like he had a right to. I was so afraid of being alone that I brought someone who had no business being there. I hurt you. I dishonored your father's memory. That's the truth. I was a coward. I am a coward. I don't know how to fix this. I don't know if I can, but I'm going to keep trying. I'm going to write to you every week, even if you never read them, even if you burn them, because you're my son, and I failed you, and I need you to know that I know that. I love you. I'm sorry. Mom, the second letter, December 27th. Tommy, your father knew about Richard, not that he was anything more than a friend, but he knew I was lonely. He told me once, Eleanor, if something happens to me, don't be alone. I think he was giving me permission, but I took it too far. I mistook his kindness for license. I found the papers he left, the ones about his heart. You were right. He knew for a year. He never told me. Sarah was right to call you out. I was so checked out, I didn't even notice my own husband dying. That's what I can't forgive myself for, not Richard. But missing the last year of your father's life because I was too busy feeling sorry for myself. I'm sorry. Mom, I read 40 letters, then 100, then I lost count. The paper got thinner as the years went on. Her handwriting changed, started out strong and precise. By year 3, it was shakier. By year 5, the letters were shorter, fewer words, like she was running out of things to say or energy to say them. Year 6, November, 3 weeks ago. Tommy, I have cancer, pancreatic, stage WAP. The doctors say 3 to 6 months. I called Sarah. I'm sorry for breaking your rule, but I had no one else, no one to list as emergency contact, no one to make decisions if I can't. Richard died 2 years ago. All our mutual friends, they sided with you, as they should have. Sarah is kind. She comes every Thursday, brings coffee, reads to me. She's the daughter I didn't deserve. She talks about you, how you're doing at work, how you're thinking about buying a house. She never says you asked about me, because you don't. And that's okay. I understand if you can't forgive me. Truly. But don't punish Sarah for loving you. She's good, Tommy. Better than both of us. Don't lose her because of me. I'm proud of you. Your father would be proud too. I hope you know that. I love you. Mom. The last line was barely legible, her handwriting trembling like she'd written it during an earthquake. I sat there, kitchen table, 2 a.m., 312 letters spread out like evidence of a life I'd refused to witness. I'd told her, "You're dead to me." And I'd been so committed to that lie that I'd let 6 years pass. Let my wife carry this secret alone. Let my mother write into a void week after week, knowing I'd never respond. The letters weren't asking for forgiveness. They were proof that she knew she didn't deserve it. And somehow that made it worse. Thursday, 2 p.m. I drove to St. Catherine's. Sarah didn't know I was coming. I didn't tell her, didn't want her to try to prepare me. Or worse, come with me out of obligation. The fourth floor oncology wing smelled like institutional cleanser trying to mask decay. Fluorescent lights hummed overhead. A nurse at the station looked up. "Can I help you?" "Room 407. "Are you family?" "I'm her son." She blinked, looked at her computer. "She has you listed. Oh, you're Thomas?" "Yeah." "She talks about you." The nurse, her badge said Rebecca, smiled. Sad. "She'll be happy to see you." I doubted that, but I walked down the hall anyway, counted the room numbers, 403, 405, 407. The door was half open. I could see a bed, medical equipment, an IV stand with a morphine drip, and in the bed, a shape that used to be my mother. I almost left, almost turned around, but then I saw it, on the wall. Taped next to the window, a child's drawing, crayon, 3 stick figures, 1 tall, 1 medium, 1 small, a house with a triangle roof, a sun in the corner with rays like spikes. At the bottom, in blocky 7-year-old handwriting, Mom, Dad, me, forever. I'd drawn that in 2nd grade, given it to her for Mother's Day. She'd hung it on the fridge. I'd forgotten it existed. She'd laminated it, kept it for 30 years, through Dad's death, through the schism, through cancer, taped it to her hospice room wall. I pushed the door open, stepped inside. She was asleep. Or unconscious. Hard to tell. Her face was thin, skin stretched tight over bones. The burgundy scarf, the one Sarah wore, was folded on the bedside table. Next to it, a visitor log. I picked it up, flipped through pages, Sarah's signature, over and over, every Thursday like clockwork, sometimes Tuesdays too. Once, 3 times in 1 week, 157 visits in 6 months. My wife had been here 157 times while I carried divorce papers. I sat in the chair next to the bed. The vinyl squeaked. Mom's eyes fluttered, opened. "Tommy?" Her voice was paper thin, barely there. "Hi, Mom?" She stared at me like I was a hallucination, a morphine dream. "You're here. I'm here. Sarah told you. I found the bracelet. I told her not to." She started coughing, deep, wet. I reached for the water cup on the table, helped her sip through the straw. She didn't tell me. I figured it out. Mom's eyes filled. Tears tracked down her temples into her hair. "I'm sorry. For everything. For the funeral. For being weak. For..." "Mom, I don't expect forgiveness. I needed you to know before I read the letters." She stopped. "You read them?" "All of them. All 300, all of them." Silence. The morphine drip tick-tick-ticked. "The last one," I said. "You wrote, 'Don't punish Sarah for loving you.' She's good, Tommy. She comes every Thursday, reads to me, brings coffee. She's been my family when I didn't deserve one." I looked at the visitor log again, at Sarah's name repeated like a mantra. She quit graduate school, Mom whispered, for me. My heart stopped. What? Graduate school, Columbia, clinical psychology, full scholarship. She deferred it, then withdrew, said it was a family emergency. The emergency was me. She used her tuition money for my hospice care. The room tilted, just fell sideways. She did what? She didn't tell you? No. Of course she didn't. Mom smiled, weak. She wouldn't, because she knew you'd do this out of obligation, not love. She wanted you to come back to me because you chose to, not because you had to. I stood up, paced. How much? Tommy. How much did the hospice cost? I don't... Mom, how much? She closed her eyes. $47,000. 47,000, Sarah's tuition, her dream, the thing she'd been working toward since before we got married, gone, for my mother, the mother I'd cut off. She comes every Thursday, Mom continued, reads to me. She's the daughter I didn't deserve. She loves you so much, Tommy, so much that she'd give up everything to save someone you hate, just because that someone is your mother. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. The room was too small. The walls were closing in. I need to go. Thomas, I'll come back, I promise. I need to go. I left, walked fast, down the hall, past Rebecca the nurse, into the elevator, out to the parking lot, sat in my car and cried for the first time in 6 years. Daddy didn't go home, couldn't face Sarah yet, needed to think, to process. I drove to Marcus's place. He opened the door in gym shorts and a coffee-stained t-shirt. You look like shit. My wife gave up Columbia to pay for my dying mother's hospice care. Marcus blinked. Come again? I told him everything. The bracelet, the confrontation, the letters, the hospital visit, the $47,000 sacrifice. We sat on his couch, drank his terrible coffee. So, Marcus said finally, you gonna tear up those divorce papers? I don't know. You don't know. She lied to me for 6 months, Marcus. 6 months. Every Thursday she looked me in the face and lied. To save your mom. She broke her promise. To save your mom. You don't get it. No, bro, you don't get it. Marcus set his coffee down, hard. Sarah gave up her dream, her $47,000 dream, to take care of a woman you haven't spoken to in 6 years, a woman who hurt you, a woman who you told her was dead to you, and she did it anyway, because she loves you, because she knew that someday, maybe after your mom died, maybe years from now, you'd regret it. You'd regret not being there, not giving her one more chance. And Sarah was willing to be the bad guy in your story if it meant saving you from that regret. I sat there, let his words sink in. She's a better person than both of us, Marcus said. I know. So what are you going to do? I went home. Sarah was in the kitchen, making dinner, or trying to, just standing there staring at vegetables like she'd forgotten what they were for. Hey, she said, didn't turn around. I went to see her. She turned then. You what? I went to St. Catherine's, room 407. I met Rebecca. I saw the visitor log. I crossed the room, stood in front of her. Columbia, Sarah. You gave up Columbia. Her face crumbled. She told you. $47,000. It was my money. It was your dream. She was dying. Sarah's voice broke. She was dying alone, Thomas. What was I supposed to do? Tell her sorry, I have grad school? Let her die in some state facility where no one knows her name? You were supposed to tell me. So you could what? Forgive her out of guilt? Show up at her deathbed out of obligation? She shook her head. I know you. You would have gone. You would have sat with her. But you would have hated yourself for it, hated her, hated me, because it wouldn't have been real. It would have been duty. And lying was better. Lying gave you time. Time to come to it on your own, to read her letters, to decide for yourself. She looked at me, eyes red. I didn't lie to hurt you. I lied to protect you. From what? From yourself, from your own stubbornness, from throwing away your last chance to say goodbye to your mother because you were too proud to bend. I thought about the letters. 312 weeks. About the drawing on the wall. About Sarah's name in that visitor log 157 times. About the divorce papers still hidden in my briefcase. I need to know something, I said. The journal in your nightstand. Can I read it? Sarah went pale. That's private. I know, but I need to understand. I need to see what this cost you. She hesitated, then nodded. I read it alone, in our bedroom, while Sarah pretended to cook dinner downstairs. The journal was leather-bound, a gift from her sister last Christmas. Most of it was mundane, grocery lists, work notes, therapy session reflections. Then, November the 2nd, 6 months ago, Eleanor called today, Thomas's mother. The woman he told me was dead to him. She's actually dying. Cancer. 3 to 6 months. She was crying, begging. Said she had no one to list as emergency contact. No Richard anymore. No friends. Just me. Just her son's wife. I told her I'd think about it. Then I hung up and cried. Thomas made me promise 6 years ago. If she ever contacted me, I'd tell him immediately. I promised. But how do I tell him his mother is dying? How do I give him that information and then watch him choose to let her die alone? Because he would. He'd choose his anger over her life. I know him. He's righteous, stubborn, loyal, all the things I love about him, but they're also the things that make him unforgiving. I don't know what to do. November 9th. I went to see her. Didn't tell Thomas. I know. I'm breaking my promise. But I needed to see if she was lying, if this was some manipulative play. She wasn't lying. She's dying. The room smells like antiseptic and fear. She's lost 30 pounds. She has this drawing on the wall. Thomas drew it when he was 7. 3 stick figures. She's kept it for 30 years. I'm going to help her. God help me. I'm going to break his rule. Because I'd rather be the villain in his story than let him live with the regret of not being there when his mother died. December 15th. The hospice care is expensive. Medicare doesn't cover outpatient. She wants to die at home, not in a facility. I don't blame her. I called Columbia today. Deferred my acceptance, just for a semester, just until this is over. I haven't told Thomas. He'd insist on paying for it, or worse, he'd go see her out of obligation. I don't want that. If he goes, I want it to be real. Not guilt, not duty, real forgiveness. I might be making the worst mistake of my life. February 3rd, withdrew from Columbia today. Not deferred, withdrawn. The hospice costs more than I thought. I took out a loan, $47,000. My tuition money isn't enough. Thomas doesn't know. He can't know. He looks at me now like he's trying to figure out what I'm hiding. I see him checking the credit card statements. See him watching me when I leave on Thursdays. I think he thinks I'm having an affair. Maybe that would be easier. At least then he'd hate me for something I actually did to him, not for loving him enough to save his mother. April the 20th. He's distant, hasn't touched me in weeks, barely talks to me, just looks at me with these eyes, like I'm a stranger. I'm saving his mother and losing him anyway. Maybe love isn't enough when pride stands between us. June at the 1st. I think he's going to leave me. I saw a lawyer's number on his phone, saw him looking at our wedding photo like he was trying to remember why he married me. Eleanor asked about him today, if he's happy, if he's okay. I lied, told her he's fine, told her he doesn't know she's sick. She cried, said she's sorry, said she never wanted to cost me my marriage. I told her it's not her fault, but it is, and it isn't. It's Thomas's stubbornness, my secrecy, her mistakes 6 years ago. It's all of us, all of our failures compounding. She has maybe a month left. After that, maybe I can fix this. Maybe I can tell him the truth. Maybe he'll understand. Or maybe he'll leave anyway. Maybe I gave up everything for nothing. But at least Eleanor won't die alone. The last entry was dated 3 days ago. Tonight Thomas looked at me like a stranger. I made his coffee, put on lipstick, smiled. He didn't smile back. I don't regret saving Eleanor, but I'm losing him, and I don't know how to stop it. Maybe some things can't be saved. I closed the journal, sat there. The divorce papers were still in my briefcase downstairs, signed, ready. And my wife, who I thought was betraying me, had given up everything, her dream, her future, $47,000 and 6 months of lies. Not for another man, not for herself, for my mother. The woman I'd told her was dead to me. If you've ever sacrificed something for someone who didn't see it, who looked at you like the enemy while you were bleeding for them, you know what I'm talking about. You know that specific kind of heartbreak. Leave a below. You deserved better than silence. I walked downstairs. Sarah was at the sink, washing vegetables that didn't need washing. Sarah. She didn't turn around. I crossed the room, wrapped my arms around her from behind, felt her go rigid, then collapse. She was crying, silently, the way she does, just tears streaming down, no sound. I'm sorry, I whispered into her hair. I'm so sorry. I broke my promise. You saved my mother. I lied to you. You loved me. I turned her around, looked at her, really looked at her. You loved me enough to give up everything, your dream, your future, and I almost left you for it. Are you... Her voice broke. Are you still going to leave? I thought about the papers, about my signature in blue ink. No, I said, I'm not leaving. I'm sorry it took me this long to understand. We stood there, kitchen, 9 p.m., holding each other like we hadn't in months. But before we could say anything else, her phone rang. St. Catherine's, Rebecca the nurse. Sarah answered, listened. Her face went pale. We'll be right there, she said. She hung up, looked at me. It's your mom. She's asking for you. Rebecca says, she says it might be tonight. We drove in silence, Sarah in the passenger seat, me gripping the wheel too tight. The streets blurred past. What did Rebecca say exactly? I asked. That your mom's vitals are dropping, that she's conscious but fading, that she asked for you specifically. Did she ask for you? She always asks for me. This time she said, I get Thomas. Please, I need to tell him something before... Sarah's voice caught. Before it's too late. The hospital parking lot was nearly empty. 10 p.m., visiting hours over, but Rebecca was waiting at the entrance, held the door for us. Room 407, she said. She's been waiting, wouldn't let herself sleep. Said she had to stay awake until you got here. We took the elevator, 4th floor. The hallway stretched endlessly. My legs felt like concrete. Sarah took my hand, squeezed. Whatever she needs to say, Sarah whispered, let her say it. Don't argue. Don't defend yourself. Just listen. Give her that. I nodded, couldn't speak. Room 407. The door was open. The lights dimmed. Mom was propped up on pillows, eyes half closed, the morphine drip ticking. But when she saw me, her eyes opened fully, clear, present. Tommy. I'm here, Mom. Sarah started to back away. Give us privacy. But Mom reached out her other hand. No, Sarah, you stay too. Your family. You've been more family than I deserved. Sarah came to the other side of the bed, took Mom's hand. I took the other. Her skin was paper thin, cold. Her grip surprisingly strong. There's something I need to tell you, Mom said, about Richard, about the funeral, the truth. Mom, you don't have to. Yes, I do. Because you've been carrying this anger for 6 years, and it's based on something you don't fully understand. She took a breath, shallow, painful. Richard wasn't my lover. You said that in the letters. Let me finish. Her grip tightened. Richard Carlson, your father's younger brother, your uncle. The world stopped, just froze. What? Your father and Richard were estranged, had been since before you were born, some fight about the family business, your grandfather's will. I don't even remember the details. They didn't speak for 30 years. I stared at her. Richard was, Dad's brother? When your father got sick, when he found out about his heart, he called Richard, made peace, Didn't tell me, didn't tell anyone, just called him one day and said, "Life's too short. I'm sorry. Let's fix this." Sarah's hand tightened on mine. "They met for coffee every week for 6 months. Your father never told me. He was protecting me. Thought I'd be upset about rekindling a relationship I didn't know was broken. Richard was there, at the hospital, the day your father died. He was holding your dad's other hand when it happened." Tears streamed down Mom's face, down mine. "At the funeral," she continued, "Richard came because your father asked him to in case I needed someone. Your dad knew he was dying, knew I'd be lost. He asked his brother to look after me. Richard wasn't my affair partner, Tommy. He was your father's dying wish." I couldn't breathe, couldn't process. But the way he touched you, like family, like a brother-in-law supporting his sister-in-law at a funeral, that's all it ever was. But I know how it looked. I know what I did wrong. I should have explained, should have told you who he was. But I was grieving and stupid, and I didn't think. I just didn't want to be alone. The room was spinning. 6 years of rage, of cutting her off, based on a misunderstanding. "Why didn't you tell me?" My voice cracked. "In the letters, in the calls, why didn't you just say he was Dad's brother?" "Because it felt like an excuse, like I was trying to justify bringing someone to your father's funeral, and I couldn't justify it, not really. Even if Richard was family, even if your dad asked him to be there, I still hurt you. I still made you feel like I'd betrayed your father's memory. That was real. Your pain was real. The reason didn't matter." "It mattered, Mom. It would have mattered." "Would it?" She looked at me, really looked at me. "Would you have forgiven me 6 years ago if I'd told you Richard was your uncle? Or would you have just found another reason to stay angry?" I wanted to say yes, wanted to say I would have understood, but I didn't know, couldn't know. I was so full of grief and rage back then. Maybe she was right. Maybe I needed someone to blame. "Richard died 2 years ago," Mom said. "Heart attack, just like your father. I was with him at the end. He told me to keep trying with you, said your dad would want us to fix this. That family was all that mattered." She coughed, deep, wet. Sarah helped her sip water. "I'm sorry, Tommy, for everything, for not explaining, for hurting you, for being weak when you needed me to be strong. I'm sorry. I'm sorry too." The words came out broken. "I should have listened, should have read the letters, should have given you a chance. You're here now. That's what matters." Because you chose to be." Mom looked between us. "Sarah gave you time, but you made the choice. You came back on your own." Sarah was crying silently, the way she does. Mom turned to her. "Thank you," Mom whispered, "for showing up, for being the bridge when he couldn't cross the gap himself, for loving him enough to risk losing him." "I'd do it again," Sarah said. "I know you would." Mom smiled, weak, fading. She fumbled with her hand, tried to remove something, her wedding ring. I helped her, slipped it off her finger. The band was thin, worn, warm from her skin. "This was your father's first gift to me," she said. "He saved for 6 months to buy it. We were 23, stupid kids. He proposed in a parking lot because he couldn't wait for somewhere romantic." She pressed it into my palm. "Give this to Sarah, not because she needs another ring, but because it's a promise that love survives mistakes, that family isn't perfect, that sometimes we hurt each other and we have to choose to come back. Your father chose me every day for 37 years, even when I didn't deserve it, even when I was distant and lonely and stupid. Mom, Sarah chose you. Every Thursday for 6 months, she chose you over her own dreams. That's rare, Tommy. That's the kind of love you don't let go of." She looked at Sarah. "He's stubborn, righteous. He'll hurt you again, not on purpose, but he will. And when he does, I need you to remember, he's worth it. He's worth fighting for. He's his father's son, good, loyal, true." I know, Sarah whispered. Mom turned back to me. And you. When you hurt her, because you will, you fight to fix it. You don't run. You don't hide behind being right. You stay. You hear me? You stay. I will, I promise. Good. She settled back into the pillows, eyes closing. That's good. Mom? Panic rose in my chest. Mom, stay with me. I'm tired, baby. I know, but just a little longer, please. Her eyes opened one more time, looked at me with something like peace. I love you, Tommy. I'm proud of you. Your father would be proud too. I love you too, Mom. She looked at Sarah. Take care of him. I will. And Tommy? Her voice was barely audible. Forgive yourself, I already have. Her eyes closed. Her breathing slowed. Sarah and I held her hands, one on each side. The morphine drip tick-tick-ticked. Rebecca came in quietly, checked vitals, looked at us with sad, knowing eyes. Mom took 3 more breaths, then 1 more, then stopped. The room went silent, no tick, no breath, just silence. And somehow in that silence, 6 years of anger finally died too. We stayed with her for an hour, didn't want to leave, didn't want the moment to end, because leaving meant it was real, meant she was really gone. Finally, Rebecca touched my shoulder gently. Take your time, she said, but when you're ready, there are some forms, some decisions. Sarah handled most of it. I couldn't think straight, couldn't process, just signed where she pointed, nodded when she asked questions. We left at midnight, walked to the parking lot in silence, got in the car. I didn't start the engine, just sat there, staring at the steering wheel. Sarah put her hand on my knee, waited. I almost didn't come, I said. If you hadn't pushed me, if I hadn't found that bracelet, I would have let her die alone. But you didn't. Only because you lied to me for 6 months. I'd do it again. She looked at me. I'd do it 100 times, because you got to say goodbye. You got to hear the truth about Richard. You got to forgive each other. That's worth everything I gave up. I pulled the ring from my pocket. Mom's wedding ring, thin gold band, worn smooth. She wanted me to give you this. Sarah stared at it. Thomas. Not as a replacement. Your ring stays on your finger. This is a reminder that we choose each other every day, even when it's hard. I took her right hand, slipped the ring onto her finger, next to her thumb. It fit perfectly. I'm sorry, I said, for doubting you, for the divorce papers, for being so stubborn I couldn't see what you were sacrificing. The papers are going in the fireplace tonight. Thomas, I don't need them anymore. I don't want them. I want you. I want us. I want to be the kind of man my father was, the kind who chooses his wife every day, even when she drives him crazy, even when she breaks his rules to save his dying mother. Sarah laughed, cried, kissed me hard. Take me home, she whispered. We drove. The city lights blurred. The radio played something soft. Sarah held my hand, Mom's ring gleaming on her finger. At home I built a fire, small, controlled. Sarah watched from the couch. I retrieved my briefcase, opened it. The divorce papers were still there, still signed, still ready. I held them up to the light, my signature, the blank space where hers should be. Any last words? Sarah asked, half joking, half serious. Yeah, I looked at her. I don't need to renew our vows. Our vows never broke. I did, but I'm not broken anymore. I dropped the papers into the fire, watched them curl, blacken, turn to ash. Sarah came to stand beside me, wrapped in the burgundy scarf, the one Mom had given her. I'm still angry you lied, I said. I know. But I understand why you did. I know that too. We have a lot to work through. We do. But we're going to work through it together. Together, she agreed. We stood there, watching the papers burn, watching 6 months of doubt and anger and fear turn to nothing. Then Sarah swayed, just slightly, caught herself on my arm. You okay? Yeah, just tired. It's been a long day." But 2 days later, she collapsed. I was at work when I got the call. Marcus driving me to the hospital at 90 miles an hour. Sarah in the ER, unresponsive. The doctor met me in the waiting room, young, tired, holding a tablet. "Mr. Mitchell?" "That's me. Where's my wife?" "She's stable, but she's had what we call a stress cardiomyopathy, Takotsubo syndrome, more commonly known as broken heart syndrome." "Broken heart, what?" "Her heart is under severe stress, not a heart attack, but the muscle is weakened, functioning at about 40% capacity. It's typically triggered by extreme emotional trauma. Grief, loss, prolonged stress." I stared at him. "Is she going to be okay?" "We think so, with rest and medication, but Mr. Mitchell, her heart is literally failing from stress, from carrying too much emotional weight for too long. She needs complete rest, no stress, no obligations. We're keeping her for observation." "Can I see her?" "Room 312, but keep it brief. She needs to rest." I found her room. She looked small in the hospital bed, pale, an IV in her arm, monitor beeping steadily. Her eyes opened when I sat down. "Hey," she whispered. "Hey yourself." I took her hand, careful. "You scared the hell out of me." "Sorry." The doctor said broken heart syndrome. Romantic, right? "Sarah, I'm okay, Thomas, just tired." "You're not okay. Your heart is failing from stress, from carrying my grief, and my mother's dying, and our marriage falling apart, and Columbia, and $47,000, and..." My voice broke. "From me. Your heart is failing because of me." "That's not..." "Yes, it is. The doctor said prolonged emotional trauma. You've been carrying all of this alone for 6 months, lying to me, watching me pull away, thinking I was going to leave you, all while my mother was dying, and you were giving up your future, and I was too stubborn to see what it was costing you." Tears streamed down my face. "I almost killed you. I almost lost you both. Because of pride." Sarah squeezed my hand, weak but there. "I'm still here," she said. "Barely. But I'm here. We're both still here. That's what matters." Marcus appeared in the doorway, knocked softly. "Hey man, thought you could use this." He handed me terrible hospital coffee, looked at Sarah. "You gave us a scare." "Sorry, Marcus." "Don't apologize. Just get better, yeah?" He looked at me. "I'll be in the waiting room if you need anything." He left. Sarah and I sat in silence. The monitor beeped, regular, steady. "There's something on the fridge at home," Sarah said finally. "In the envelope, the Columbia letter. I kept it." "Why?" "Because it wasn't gone forever, just deferred. I could reapply next year or the year after when things settled." "Sarah!" "But I need you to know, I don't regret it. I'd make the same choice, even knowing it would land me here. Because your mom didn't die alone, and you gotta forgive her, and forgive yourself. That's worth more than any degree." "No." I shook my head. "No. You're reapplying. This year. Next semester if they'll take you. I don't care if I have to work 3 jobs. You're getting your degree." "Thomas, you gave up everything for my family. Now I'm going to spend the rest of my life making sure you get your dreams back." Before I could say anything else, before we could talk about how to make this right, my phone rang. The funeral home. Arrangements needed to be made. "I have to take this," I said. "Go. I'm not going anywhere." I stepped into the hallway, made arrangements I never thought I'd make, burial plot, casket, service details. When I came back, Sarah was asleep. I pulled the chair close, held her hand, watched her breathe, and made a decision. The funeral was small. Mom didn't have many people left, a few neighbors, some distant cousins I'd never met. Rebecca from the hospice came, Marcus, Sarah's sister. Sarah was there in a wheelchair, Doctor's orders. She shouldn't have been out of the hospital, but she insisted. Your mom showed up for you, she said. 312 times I'm showing up for her. I gave the eulogy, kept it short, honest. My mom made mistakes, we all do, but in the end, she taught me something important. Family isn't who you're born to. It's who shows up when showing up costs everything. I looked at Sarah, in her wheelchair, 2 rings on her fingers. My wife showed up every Thursday for 6 months. She showed up for a woman I'd cut out of my life. She showed up when I couldn't, when I wouldn't. She showed up because she knew that someday, maybe after Mom was gone, maybe years later, I'd need to know that someone was there, that my mother didn't die alone. My voice cracked. I pushed through. Sarah gave up her dreams, her future, $47,000 in 6 months of her life. She risked our marriage, risked everything, because she believed in something I'd forgotten, that people deserve second chances, that love means showing up, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. I looked at Mom's casket. Simple, pine, the way she wanted. I spent 6 years being angry, being right, being too stubborn to bend, and my mom spent 6 years trying to reach me, 312 letters, every one an apology I refused to read. I pulled one from my pocket, the last one. Read it aloud. I don't need you to forgive me, Tommy. I just need you to let Sarah love you. She's better than both of us. I folded the letter, put it back in my pocket. She was right. Sarah is better, better than me, better than my pride. And I almost lost her because I couldn't see past my own anger. I looked at the small gathering, at the people who showed up. We don't leave the ones who love us through the worst. We stay. That's what my mom taught me in the end. That's what Sarah showed me every Thursday. We stay. After the service, after the burial, after everyone left, Sarah and I sat by the grave. Her in the wheelchair, me on the ground beside her. She would have liked that eulogy, Sarah said. You think? I know. She talked about you all the time, about how proud she was, how you got your father's stubbornness and her determination. Deadly combination. Yeah. Sarah smiled. It is. We sat in silence, the sun setting, the cemetery empty. I called Columbia, I said. Sarah looked at me. Thomas, they said you can reapply for next fall. Full scholarship still available if you resubmit your application by January. That gives you 6 months to recover, to get strong, to be ready. I don't know if you're doing it. I don't care if I have to carry you to class. You're getting your degree. What about the money? I'll handle it. Thomas, you gave up everything for my family. It's my turn to show up for yours. Sarah started crying, the quiet way, just tears. I love you, she whispered. I love you too. Before I tell you how this ends, quick question. What would you do if you'd almost destroyed the person who saved your family? Would you fight for them or let them go? Tell me in the comments. 6 months later, Sarah was stronger, her heart function back to 70%. The doctors called it a miracle. I called it stubbornness, Sarah's specialty. I'd picked up extra shifts at work, saved every penny. Marcus loaned us $10,000 interest-free. Sarah's sister contributed $5,000. We crowdfunded the rest. January 15th, Sarah resubmitted her application to Columbia. February 2nd, she got the acceptance email. She cried. I cried. We called Marcus, called her sister, celebrated with cheap champagne and takeout Chinese food. I can't believe I'm really doing this, Sarah said. Believe it. What if I'm too old? What if I can't keep up? You're 34, and you just survived broken heart syndrome because you were too stubborn to stop showing up for a dying woman and her idiot husband. You'll be fine. She laughed. That real laugh. The one I hadn't heard in a year. Thank you, she said. For what? For fighting for us. For showing up after I thought you were going to leave. I took her hand, 2 rings gleaming, her original engagement ring on the left, Mom's wedding band on the right. We don't leave. I said. Remember? I remember. Time moves strange after loss. Days feel like weeks, weeks feel like hours. But gradually, life finds its rhythm again. Sarah started classes in the fall, clinical psychology, full scholarship, she thrived. 4.0 GPA first semester, made friends, found her people. I went to therapy, dealt with the guilt, the grief, the anger I'd carried for 6 years, learned to forgive myself, learned that being right isn't the same as being at peace. We had good days, bad days. Days where we fought about stupid things, days where we couldn't stop laughing. Normal, married life. The kind we'd almost lost. On Thursdays, we visited Mom's grave together. Brought coffee, told her about our week, Sarah's classes, my work, small things, normal things, family things. I kept the letters, all 312, in a box in our closet. Sometimes I read them. Reminded myself, people are more than their worst mistake. Love is choosing to stay anyway. And that child's drawing, the one from Mom's hospital wall, we framed it, hung it in our living room, 3 stick figures, a house, a son, Mom, Dad, me, forever. Turns out I was right the first time. When I was 7 and drew that picture and thought family was simple, it is simple. It's just not easy. 1 year later, May 17th, I stood in the back of Columbia's graduation ceremony, searched the crowd for Sarah's face. The auditorium was packed, families, friends, camera phones everywhere, proud parents weeping. I wore my father's watch, Mom's wedding ring on a chain around my neck next to my own. 2 families, 1 love. The graduates filed in, caps and gowns. Sarah was in the 3rd row. I saw her burgundy scarf underneath her gown, the one Mom gave her. She wore it to every Thursday visit, wore it to the funeral. Still wore it on days when she needed to remember what courage looked like. The ceremony dragged, speeches, awards. I didn't hear any of it, just watched Sarah waiting. Finally, Sarah Elizabeth Mitchell, Master of Arts in Clinical Psychology, summa cum laude. She walked across that stage, took her diploma, smiled that smile, the real one, the one that reaches her eyes. I stood up, whistled, clapped until my hands hurt, didn't care that everyone looked. That's my wife, the woman who gave up this moment once to save my mother, who risked everything because she believed in second chances, who showed up every Thursday even when I was too proud to see what it cost her. After the ceremony, I found her in the crowd. She was holding her diploma, crying, happy this time. You did it, I said. We did it. No, this one's yours. She kissed me, long, deep. The kind of kiss that says everything words can't. We took photos. Marcus showed up, Sarah's sister, some of her classmates. We went to dinner, celebrated. Sarah laughed so hard wine came out of her nose. Later at home, we sat on the couch, exhausted, happy. Her diploma on the coffee table next to a photo from our wedding. Young, stupid. Convinced love was enough. Turns out we were half right. Love isn't enough on its own. You need forgiveness, patience, stubbornness, the willingness to show up even when showing up costs everything. You need someone who will break the rules to save you from your own pride. You need someone who stays. Sarah fell asleep on my shoulder. I looked around our living room, at the life we'd almost lost. The framed drawing, 3 stick figures, forever. The burgundy scarf draped over the chair, the 2 coffee mugs from this morning, coral lipstick on one rim, the photo from Columbia graduation. Sarah in her cap and gown, holding her diploma, wearing 2 rings. And on the wall, in a simple frame, Mom's last letter, the one I read at her funeral. I don't need you to forgive me, Tommy. I just need you to let Sarah love you. She's better than both of us. She was right. Sarah is better. And this time, after everything, I stayed. My mom used to say, family isn't who you're born to, it's who shows up. Sarah showed up 157 times over 6 months. She showed up when I couldn't, when I wouldn't, when my pride was too big and my heart was too closed. She showed up and gave up her dreams so I could have one more chance to say goodbye to my mother, so I could forgive, so I could be forgiven. That's the kind of love you don't let go of. That's the kind of love you fight for. That's the kind of love that saves you, even from yourself. Who showed up for you when it mattered? Share your found family story below. I'll be reading every one, because that's what we do. We show up, we listen, we stay. We don't leave the ones who love us through the worst. We stay.